When someone has a passion for what they do, it comes through in the product they provide their customers. Just ask LaRocco's Pizza's new owner, Jason Johnson, about their crust. They make it every day and let it rise for a minimum of 24 hours before they use it for their pizza. And his staff doesn't want to do anything they won't be the best at, and you can taste it in their pizza. LaRocco's Pizza, just a half block north of the I-470 and Gage Boulevard exit. Come taste the difference.
It's time for Real Estate 101 with the Carrie Brown team from Preferred Advisors.
Good Saturday morning to you. This is Carrie Brown, Associate Broker with eXp Realty, and you're listening to Real Estate 101. I am here today with Cassandra Taylor from Architect One. Good morning, Cassandra.
Good morning.
So we are going to be talking about all the cool things that go into designing all the cool things you see. So, Cassandra, you have been an architect for how long?
Technically, I've only been an architect for about 7 months. But I have been in the industry since my first internship with Walt Disney Imagineering in 1999.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, Walt Disney Imagineering, tell me about that.
So they're the creative side of Disney. I specifically was involved with their resort development, worked on Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge, which many people have probably stayed at.
That sounds super interesting.
It was a really exciting experience. It turned out to be a great thing for me. I ended up working there after I graduated. So I worked at Disney. Well, I was an Imagineer until 9/11. And then that changed the landscape for our entire industry.
So when you say Imagineer, what does that mean?
Imagineer is a person that works for Walt Disney Imagineering, which is their creative side. So we're the ones who imagine the parks, imagine the resorts, and make things come to life.
Gotcha. So how long have you been in Topeka?
I moved back to Topeka, so I'm 8th generation Topekan. I moved back in 2007.
So what brought you back to Topeka?
Well, 2007 was the height of the real estate boom in Florida, and I had just sold a house that I couldn't afford to buy back 2 weeks later.
Oh, wow.
Cost of living in Florida had just gotten really crazy, and moving back here provided me an opportunity to basically make the same salary at a fraction of the cost of living.
Wow. So you left sunny Florida and moved back to Kansas.
Yes. Yeah, everyone asked why I did that, but honestly, I missed the seasons. I love spring and fall. Winter I could, give up, but spring and fall are great.
I'm still trying to negotiate a summer home during the winter. The older I get, it seems the colder I get.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that.
Okay, so Architect One, tell me about the company itself.
Architect One is a multidisciplinary architectural design firm. We do master planning as well. Basically, we're not a niche firm. We don't have one market that we exclusively do, so we can do everything from multifamily, hospitality, education projects, worship. Some of the projects you guys might know of in the Topeka area that I've worked on personally is Fellowship Bible Church at 10th and Urish, Topeka Bible Church, Kansas Grain and Feed is one that we've done. That's a pretty well-known building. Cyrus Hotel. We've done a lot of the work downtown. We're pretty proud of being involved in that.
I think it would be great to just be able to put all your creativity into something and to see it become to where everybody can see your dream and your imagination, and that's got to be hugely rewarding.
That is probably my favorite part of architecture. I don't know when I decided to be an architect. I remember being a kid, 6 years old, and drawing houses. So it's always been something I've wanted to do. But the further you get in your career, the more experience you have. That is absolutely my favorite part, is seeing that idea that was in my head built in real life.
So have you ever designed a single-family home?
We've done some single-family. I've done it for friends and family, just on the side. Single-family architecture is sometimes difficult because it's very personal, which is totally understandable. This is your home that you're going to live in for the rest of your life, but it can have a lot more bumps in the road.
Yeah, we always say that if your marriage is on the rocks, building a house probably is not a good plan.
That is absolutely true. It is a huge stress point.
Yeah, because, everybody's got their opinion and everybody wants to see their dream come to life, but then you've got that budget, and the budget's usually a problem.
Yes, budgets make everything tough. New construction is expensive.
Yeah, I can't imagine. It took my husband and I 11 years to agree on kitchen cabinets, or the countertops. Just the countertops, not the cabinets. We didn't even change those.
That's a long time.
Yeah. So saying that we could build a house together is probably not accurate.
Yeah, you may not want to undertake that. Or you hand all the decisions off to the designer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is something a good designer can help you with, is you come in and you say, I like this, I hate this, or I don't care for this. And then a good designer can read into that and hopefully come up with something that will help make everyone happy.
Yeah, I would say that that's probably the only way we could do it. We have two very vastly different styles. He's more rustic and I'm more beachy.
Oh.
Together.
You could tie those together.
Yeah. We're still finding our way and tying that together. We have rooms. This is my room. This is my style. This is yours. All right.
Yeah, I always joke that I need 12 different houses just to fit all the styles that I want in my homes.
Yeah, me too. Oh, okay. So when you decided to make this career move, obviously you were already there. You were already doing it, and you decided to go to school to become an architect. What was the pivotal point? What made you say, okay, I'm doing this?
Doing architecture? I don't know that there was a pivotal point. Everyone asks me that, and it just always was. It never wasn't anything but architecture. I don't know if that means I'm just a blind follower or it just felt right. It's always felt right. And thankfully, it's panned out. I'm now a principal in the firm at Architect One. I've been there for 12 years.
Wow. And that's amazing, because isn't architect primarily a man's world?
It is. It is predominantly male. Although I will say in my career, 20 years. Wow. I've been in it 20 years now. I have seen the shift. There are more women architects. We're definitely not in the majority. I will say at Architect One, we do a really good job of hiring women. We don't avoid hiring them. I'm not implying anyone else does. What we see a problem with in the architecture industry is women don't stay in the industry. But I think that's true of a lot of industries. Women come in, they start their careers, and then they leave to go do other things. So women principals are extremely rare.
Well, I know when it comes to real estate back in the day, even, that was primarily all men. Barbara Corcoran actually endorses me, and one of the things that I thought was so cool about her is back whenever she and her husband divorced, he told her, "You're nothing without me." And unfortunately, in that era, there was some truth to that. I think it's awesome, because I asked her one time if "hold my beer, watch this" was a phrase back then, because she far surpassed him.
Yeah, definitely.
Apparently it wasn't a phrase back then, but it is now.
Yeah. And I've been pretty lucky. People have asked me about being a woman in a man's industry, because I also work often with construction companies, and there are vast majority of the time I'm the only woman in the room. And it never really crosses my mind. I'm there to do a job, and I just get it done. And the people that I work with respect me, I hope. There have been a few instances maybe where I've been made to feel uncomfortable, but it's thankfully few and far between.
Well, there is this special thing that you do that should be intimidating to folks. You have a really cool hobby.
I do have a cool hobby. Well, I think it's cool. I am a power lifter. I am, actually, I have to go back and look, but I am ranked in the state and nation.
Oh, wow.
So powerlifting is like wrestling. You're ranked by age and weight class. And so in my age and my weight class, I'm first in the state. And for those that don't know, powerlifting is squat, bench, and deadlift. And then you also have a number, your total number lifted. And I'm first in all those categories in the state of Kansas. And then used to be ranked 13th in the nation. I don't know if that's true anymore.
Now that's impressive. And I will say, if someone did make you feel uncomfortable, that's really not a good plan.
Yeah. I like to think that I could hold my own.
I'm thinking that, I mean, we're talking deadlift.
Yeah. If someone can deadlift 385 pounds along with me, then we could have a conversation about it then.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That is really cool. And, I would imagine you don't meet too many people that, just in the workforce that do that. So
yeah, it's a pretty demanding hobby. I train 8 to 10 hours a week, typically. Wow. I've been lax the last month or so. We won't talk about that, but work sometimes demands that you give up your hobbies. But I train and compete, and the training cycle is 12 weeks, and you're there 8 to 10 hours a week for that, on top of having a regular job and a real life outside of it.
Oh, wow. That is just impressive. And it shows that how detail or focused you are. Because, that has to take intense focus.
It does take intense focus, but you also develop your gym family becomes your family. I don't go to a traditional box gym. It's specifically geared towards strength training. So it's Olympic lifting, which is also called weightlifting, powerlifting, and strongman competitions. So that everyone that trains there trains in that, and most people compete.
Oh, wow. So with that being said, where do you see yourself in that realm, in the weightlifting realm, in the next few years? Do you have a big goal? Obviously, you've already hit a lot.
I do have a goal. So my squat and deadlift are very close. We're 385 and 382 pounds, respectively. I would love to hit 400. And, my coach always says, 10 years ago, for a woman to hit even 200 pounds was a big deal. And now you're seeing women hit 500, 550 pounds. It's just amazing what's happening in the sport because women now know that they can do it.
Wow. So you're kind of a groundbreaker across the board.
I'm not a little bit.
Just take it when you get it, girl.
There were other women that paved the way for me.
That's true. You are young, though. You are definitely young in your field, and I would imagine.
We'll talk age. I'm 43. So
okay, she looks way younger than she is.
I started powerlifting when I was 40, and for that, you're actually considered an old fogey, and you're put in, which is maybe why I have first place, but you're put into a different category. So you're called a master at that point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so in my defense, you look all of about maybe 30.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. I'll take it.
And she didn't pay me to say that. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsors. We'll be back in just a few. We'll talk more about Architect One. Thanks for listening to Real Estate 101.
Southwest Topeka has a good neighbor. State Farm agent Jim Garrison, now at 29th and Urish. If your current insurance situation has you going around in circles, get off the roundabout and stop in and meet Jim and his wonderfully efficient staff. Let Jim Garrison give you a quote and make the Garrison comparison. He's confident that with State Farm's competitive rates, the right coverage, and his unmatched service, you'll want to make him your new insurance agent. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and Jim Garrison is there for you, northeast of the roundabout at 29th and Urish.
When someone has a passion for what they do, it comes through in the product they provide their customers. Just ask LaRocco's Pizza's new owner, Jason Johnson, about their crust. They make it every day and let it rise for a minimum of 24 hours before they use it for their pizza. And his staff doesn't want to do anything they won't be the best at, and you can taste it in their pizza. LaRocco's Pizza, just a half block north of the I-470 and Gage Boulevard exit. Come taste the difference.
Thanks for joining us again on Real Estate 101. I am back with Cassandra Taylor from Architect One. So during the break, we were talking about favorite projects. Mm-hmm. Tell me the most creative one you've done so far.
Oh, most creative. Well, I really enjoyed working with the team at Fellowship Bible Church. They had a really clear vision and allowed us to execute it. We had a great team of owners, consultants, and really pulled off a pretty cool project for Topeka.
It's huge.
It is huge. It's a 1,450-seat sanctuary.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they have multiple services, too.
They
so
do.
I can't imagine what their...
Well, and we designed it so they can grow into it. They had that vision with their first building as well, which I believe their first sanctuary seats 650, and they ended up filling that every service and had to go to 4 services a weekend. And it's been a few years since we finished this, so I may have my numbers off slightly. But the new sanctuary, we designed specifically so they could separate off part of it and corral people to be closer to the stage until they grew into the rest of the space. And my sister attends that church, and so I go occasionally, and they've definitely grown into it.
Oh, wow. So let's talk about Disney. I mean, that had to, I would love every second of that.
Disney is a whole other level of expectations. So when I moved back to Kansas and started, we do what are called punch lists, and we have to check on the construction and make sure that they were built to what is drawn in the documents. And when I moved back, I had to change my expectations because Disney's are so high that most people can't attain them. So Disney takes great care to look at every detail of every piece of furniture, of fabric. We studied a perfect example is I'll call it a half wall that we did in a buffet area. And instead of just putting decorative grommets on there, they actually had gone to Africa and bought African coins that had a hole in the center, and that was used for the washer to decorate this wall. So it's a whole other level of detail.
That just sounds so amazing.
It was really fun to work on.
You've got some projects that are actually you're working on right now, and my understanding is you guys aren't just Topeka.
That's correct. We have offices in Manhattan. That office has been open 2.5 years now. And then in 2 to 3 weeks, we'll have an office open in Kansas City. We actually have staff already working there and projects in Kansas City. And then because of our connections, we work regionally, and we even have a few projects nationally. We have a couple happening in Oregon and different locations. But I have a project right now down in Tulsa that's an aquatic center, Trident Aquatic Center. I believe they're now calling it Owasso Aquatic Center. But it's an exciting project where the owner had a vision. He trains athletes who are whatever that level is below Olympic competition. And his athletes go on to compete in the Olympics. And he wanted to start earlier with the kids. So he has an Olympic training pool and a standard training swimming pool that you might take swim lessons in for the little kids. So he's going to start them young and bring them in.
That sounds so neat.
It was a fun project to work on.
So do you get to play in the pools when you're done?
You know what? I'm going to ask.
I would. So you're also working on a dental office here locally?
I am. East Topeka Dental Office. We've been working on the design for that for a few months now. We're nearing completion, and we'll be submitting for building permit soon. And within the next year, I think you'll see some pretty big changes for them.
So start to finish, what is the average? I mean, like whenever you get started, obviously it's going to be based on project, but I mean, is there a typical time frame that you anticipate things being done in?
That's a good question. There is nothing typical about any project. It really varies. There are some projects that we hear about and get out the door within 2 weeks. And then there are other projects that we are still working on 3 years later. So it really depends on the scope. So
let's talk about how you handle it. So are you on the jobs every day, or do you just design? I'm not saying just, but do you design them and then someone else takes that idea and makes it into fruition? How involved do you get?
Me personally, I am involved from start to finish, and that is a standard we have set within Architect One. That way you have the same point of contact, the same base knowledge throughout the entire scope of the project. We believe it helps things run more smoothly. There are firms out there that compartmentalize, and they have a design department and a principal that will bring the project in but then never touches it again. And we believe that you lose a little bit in the transition when that happens. So we do everything we can to avoid that. It's not, we have done it, we have switched teams in the past if we've had to, but not very often.
What's the most rewarding thing about your job?
Happy clients. I think that seeing the smile on their face when the project is complete and them following up and just saying, thank you, this is exactly what we needed. And it's usually the clients that fought you the most the whole way.
Yeah, that's really similar to real estate. So say you're a little girl or a teenage girl and drawing and putting those ideas on paper and wanting to be an architect is something you wanted to do. What would be the pieces of advice you would give her?
I would say reach out, find even just cold call an architecture firm and ask to job shadow. I know we do that all the time. We'll take you around to our meetings on our job sites for an afternoon. Job shadow, when you're looking into colleges, make sure that it's an accredited university. If it's not accredited, you can't become licensed. It really matters. And then understand what it takes to become licensed. The reason I've technically only been an architect for 7 months or whatever it is because I didn't pay attention. I went to an accredited university, but Kansas State, by the way, go Cats. But instead of choosing a degree in architecture, I chose a degree in interior architecture, and that's in a different accreditation. So I then had to sort of go in through a back door where I had to have 13 years of experience and jump through a lot more hoops than I would have had to if I had chosen the architecture path.
So be sure and ask.
Yes, ask questions, understand, and ask professionals in the industry, not just what the university is saying, because sometimes, and it's not malicious or intentional, but sometimes they don't know either.
So, and that applies to both boys and girls. So,
yes,
obviously, any of you can ask.
Yeah.
So I know real estate is by far not an 8-hour job. It's random. It's whatever the client needs. There is no set schedule. Is being an architect like that?
It's similar. We do have a standard, like we're at the office Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Well, the office is open Monday through Friday to 8 to 5. But it's similar in this respect that if you have a deadline, you have to meet it and you do what you have to do to get that done. We're also there early sometimes because contractors start early, especially in the heat of the summer. So we're there trying to get them the answers they need before they build whatever they need to build. And I will say that I love and hate that about my job, that I love that if I have a design idea, I can, throw it out there, and it's usually at 2:00 in the morning and horribly inconvenient. But I also sometimes don't appreciate not having my weekends occasionally.
I can understand that fully. But at the same time, it's an addiction.
It is.
It really is.
And you can't, I don't know if real estate's the same, but when you're in a creative business, I always, creativity to me is like a train. And there was a poet that wrote a poem about this, and I can't remember her name, but it comes at you. And you have to get it down and out while it's there, or it's going to go on and find someone else.
That is totally true. I have a staff of 4, and I'm always like, please do not check your emails till the following morning. But if I don't send it out right now, I will forget it before the next day. And it's like, you have to get it down.
Exactly.
And I'm always thinking, okay, outside the box, if this isn't selling, why isn't it selling? I'm not getting it in front of the right people. How can I get it in front of those people? And so it's a huge passion. But my husband says I negotiate in my sleep. So.
I sometimes draw in my sleep, so I can relate to that.
Okay, so you have more than just one unique thing about you. Besides powerlifting, you just went through an amazing thing.
It's been a bit of a transformation for me. And anyone who follows me on Facebook will see a public post about this today. But I used to weigh over 400 pounds. And I don't know how much I weighed because I didn't have a scale that could weigh me. And I was too ashamed to go to the doctor because every time I went, they just told me to buck it up and lose weight. And that's very defeating after a while. It was a lifetime of yo-yo dieting and never finding... I just felt like I didn't have the willpower and that I didn't care enough. And I actually looked into gastric bypass surgery, had gone to the informational session, was saving up money, was going to make it happen. And it just never felt right to me. And I heard this guy who frankly came off as kind of a jerk on a podcast. He was a guest on Adam Carolla's podcast. And he made me angry and he made me defensive. But a lot of what he was talking about resonated with me about the yo-yo dieting and never being able to control it. And so I looked into him and I looked into it's not a diet, it's a way of eating. I've been eating this way for 3.5 years now. And I've lost at least 155 pounds and maintained it. I lost 70 pounds in the first 5 months. And then the rest has come off slowly over time. I've plateaued the last year, but I think that's because of powerlifting. And I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be. I'm 5'10", and I'm strong. So I don't know. I'm not going to fit in any chart. So I just let my body tell me what it needs.
So let's talk about it. What did you eat to lose that much weight?
I stopped eating sugar, and I stopped eating grains. So no wheat, no oat, no rice, corn, barley, all the fun stuff. So basically it's the diet, the way of eating is considered high fat, moderate protein, and low carb. And that's really what throws people as the high fat part. Because we've been taught for so long that fat is bad and fat is evil, but really it's energy. And it's about understanding how your body uses that energy.
Wow. And you can definitely tell, and definitely don't make her mad because she can throw you and pick you up and toss you.
It's only happened once.
That is so amazing, and you look great. Like
Thank
I said,
you.
I would have never thought that she was so close to my age. So it's working.
Thank you.
Okay, so how would they get a hold of Architect One if they were looking to design a project? And
so there was so many ways. We have a Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, and I think all of them are Architect One or Architect One Inc. Our website is www.ao.design, and then you can also give us a call at any of our offices.
And what number should they call?
The Topeka office is 785-271-7010.
And if you're looking to buy or sell, be sure and give us a call at 785-213-5188. If you're looking to buy or sell in any of the Northeast Kansas area, be sure and check out our website. It is preferredadvisorsteam.com. Thanks for listening to Real Estate 101.
Thank you for listening to Real Estate 101 with the Carrie Brown team from Preferred Advisors.